You're likely aware by now that coverage of anything that even smells slightly like Gamergate tends to be quite interesting. On Monday, it was officially announced that, due to anonymous threats, 2 panels that were due to be run at the 2016 South by Southwest Festival in Texas have been cancelled. You'd think this might be very simple and clear to report on, but one of the panels, about the gaming community, was set to feature people who have publicly said they are fond of Gamergate. The other cancelled panel, that was going to be about harassment, was set to feature people who have publicly said they are not very fond of Gamergate, whatever any of these people consider Gamergate to be. Do you hear that rustling? It's the sound of 1,000 journalist boners. There's been tons of coverage already, so let's take a little dip. This story has been covered on The Verge, and they've gone for the headline, South by Southwest cancels Gamergate-related panels after, quote, threats of violence. And what's interesting about this one is that it's part of what they call a story stream. And this story stream happens to be called Gamergate, a misogynist harassment campaign disguised as consumer revolt. Oh, and of course, there's Anita. She also naturally appears in the article as an example of someone who has been threatened since the start of Gamergate. Ooh, I bet those gators did this, they have a history. The piece published about this by Recode takes the same kind of path but is a little bit more blatant. The article states, the online hate mob of Gamergate is good at 2 things. Sending horrible threats to women online, and forcing people to shut down events featuring people critical of Gamergate. Thank you for this information, Recode. I think we know what that must mean. By the way, right after saying that Gamergate shuts stuff down, they talk about Anita's shooting threat from last year. The hive mind is real. Now let's take a little peep at what was published on Motherboard. Level Up, Overcoming Harassment in Games, was to focus on solutions for abuse and discrimination in gaming, a topic that was brought to the forefront last year by Gamergate, an online movement whose members have alternately advocated for ethics in games journalism while attacking, including rape and death threats, so-called social justice warriors, including those calling for increased diversity and inclusivity in gaming. Anyone they could identify as a Gamergate member already sounds like a monster, but somehow they continue and make it worse. The other panel's description focused on sociopolitics and journalistic integrity, which Gamergate supporters have used as moral cover during online harassment campaigns. It featured multiple supporters of the Gamergate movement, several prominent Gamergate figureheads, as co-organizer Parry Jones stated in a Reddit post. Representatives from that panel did not respond to a request for comment. God damn. Gamergate supporters are responsible for all this heinous shit. They are evil masterminds who harass and try to trick you into thinking everything is fine. By the way, these guys, Gamergate supporters. Someone had better tell Lynn Walsh of the SPJ that she was just being brought along as cover. As with the first example I showed you and then the second, there is a worse version of this one, and it was published on Mashable.com. The writer decided to say, while the 2 panels appear on the surface to cover similar ground, they actually fall on opposite ends of the political spectrum. The SavePoint speakers have all been connected to the Gamergate hate group, as defined by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, at some point or another, and the panel had been painted in the media as a pro-Gamergate talk. Makes it sound like South by Southwest invited the KKK to speak. I think I've had enough of that, and you get the idea. While I have seen some pieces that I would say are okay, I think it's clear that Gamergate is still working perfectly well as a litmus test for sketchy journalists. It's like a cape to a bull. Everyone involved with the SavePoint panel sounds like a monster. If you know what these people are like, if you've seen them around on Twitter or seen them talk, imagine you have no clue about them. What image does this stuff give you about these named people? They are being turned into evil effigies to be burned. And meanwhile, in reality, Lynn Walsh is tweeting about how she's disappointed to hear the news of the cancellation, and that she was looking forward to discussing ethical, responsible journalism. I wonder why that statement hasn't been added to any of the articles I've seen. Gamergate, and in particular its coverage, continues to be absolutely surreal. There's this magical tale about a hate group on the internet that they keep pinning on people who obviously are nothing like they've described this hate group. It's like some of these writers have been cursed to forever try to replicate the Gamergate Wikipedia article. If journalists are really only capable of regurgitating the same shit 100 times, just wrapped around a new public statement, or something they've copied from another outlet, just fire them all. Write a program instead. It already feels like there's a machine pumping out 20 articles every time something that can be used happens. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.